My name is Jim Burris, and I help people who've been struggling with anxiety or fear disorder or anxiety disorder, whatever you were told it's called, for months, years, and decades. I suffered from anxiety from the age of about 14 until about, 36, 37 years old. I'm 46 now. I'll be 47 this year in 2020. This year of it's 2025. I'll be 47 this year. And most people I help have tried everything from, the medications that the doctors prescribe, talking therapy, alternative therapies like tapping, and all the different potions and lotions. And they really just didn't get the results or any results that they were looking for. I'm not a doctor. I'm not playing one here on YouTube. And a lot of people do get help and benefit from those treatments. Some people get long-lasting and permanent treatment, but I suspect if you're here watching this video, you've probably tried some of those other ones, and you're just looking for more, for something that you don't know about. Today, I want to talk about a concept you may have heard of if you were ever maybe in sports or like martial arts. It's called the Teachability Index. And I'll explain why it's relevant to anxiety, because it's really one of the things that you don't need to know, but you need to be aware of, and essentially ask yourself these questions, not in just getting your life back from anxiety, but anything that you have a desire to do and undertake, I guess, to go head on. Whether it's a competition of some kind, or in work, or even learning a new skill, whether it's, knitting, or, how to fly an airplane. And the Teachability Index it's built on two components: your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change. When I coach and train salespeople and marketers, which is one of my primary businesses, I talk about this. And I've been wanting to make this video about the training balance scale with anxiety. I'm sorry, the Teachability Index with anxiety for some time now. So let's talk about the willingness to learn part first, and then we'll dive into the willingness to accept change. So think of each of these as a number on a scale of 1 to 10. So your willingness to learn, scale of 1 to 10, you would rate yourself. Willingness to accept change, scale of 1 to 10. And you would essentially, just for illustration purposes, you would multiply that number just to kind of see where you are, right? 10 times 10 is 100. If you're on both scales, 10 times 1, you think, I'm willing to learn. But if you're not willing to change, if you're a 10 and a 1, that's only a 10 on the overall percentage of your willingness of the Teachability Index. So willingness to learn is your willingness to essentially accept new ideas, be open to the possibility of new ideas. That doesn't mean that you need to blindly do something or have faith. I guess essentially faith is a good thing, and I'm not saying that from a religious standpoint. I know that turns some people off, and that's fine. But when it comes to your willingness to learn, how open are you to question your ideas and your thinking? There are things that you don't know that you don't know, right? So, I'll give you an example of like the 4 levels of learning. So I'm assuming you know how to tie your shoes if you're watching this video. But at some point in your life, you were unconsciously incompetent. Unconsciously meaning you didn't know. Incompetent means that you just couldn't do it, but you didn't know that you couldn't do it, right? So it's not a bad thing. It's not a judgmental thing. So you didn't know that you didn't know how to tie your shoes. And then at some point, I don't remember how old I was when I got, we'll call them tie shoes, with laces. Let's say you were 4 years old, 5 years old. All of a sudden, you became consciously incompetent, meaning you knew that you didn't know how to tie your shoes. And this is an elementary example, but just please allow me just to go along and just follow along. So, 4 or 5 year old you looks at your shoes and you're like, what in the hell do I do with these, right? And from the city of St. Louis, that's how you talked when you were 5 years old, right? You're like, I don't know how to tie my shoes. Now I know that. I know there's a thing that's called shoes with laces, right? So then your parents or someone showed you how to tie your shoes. So then you you learned, you had to follow along, like, I forget the little ditty, like left over right, make the rabbit ear, take the, you know what I mean? I don't remember what that was, but you know how to tie shoes. So you understand the concept. But once you learned, you became consciously competent. So you knew how to tie your shoes, but you had to be conscious and essentially focus, have an awareness of one, two, following a process and the steps. That should make sense to you up to this point. And then at some point now, like I'm 46 years old, I'm unconsciously competent at tying my shoes. Again, simple example. Meaning I could, I'm not wearing shoes right now, but if I was, I could bend over and talk to you and make this video, or put my foot up on the desk here and make this video and still be present and aware and have a conversation with you. And I could just tie my shoe. You know what I mean? I could, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, tie my shoe. So essentially that's how when you learn something, in the beginning, you don't know that you don't know it. And then you become aware of it. And oftentimes that's where resistance comes in, because I think it's just human nature. And if some of you probably, if you've studied human evolution and psychology, you understand there's like the confirmation bias and I forget all the things, right? When you're presented with new information, if it doesn't jive, it doesn't mesh with your, what you already believe to be true, oftentimes there's resistance, and that shuts people down. They won't learn new things. So you have to have the willingness to learn, right? The willingness to go, okay, I don't know this, but based on some evidence, right? You always want to have, again, don't blindly follow people. There should be evidence, that suggests why you should do X, Y, Z if you have the desire to achieve a result. So in the case with overcoming anxiety, most people are unconsciously incompetent, that there's a way outside of conventional medicine. And again, I'm not here to say that won't work for you. But if you've tried it and it hasn't worked for you, maybe it's time to look at some, we'll call alternatives or new ideas. So when I coach people and show them the Peaceful Mind Blueprint, it's typically foreign to them. Most of the components of the blueprint are not foreign. It's stuff that you just learn to essentially focus on and restructure in your life a little bit to get you where you want to go. And then as we go through the Peaceful Mind Blueprint, like, you'll get to the point where you're consciously competent, where through coaching and watching the videos, where you understand how to apply the process, and you have to think about it, essentially, right, to do it, just like tying your shoes. And then you get to the point where you just apply, it kind of becomes, I don't want to say it becomes part of your life, but it kind of does. Because one day you'll go, oh shit, I haven't had a panic attack in 3 weeks. I can't even, I still remember my last panic attack. Tampa Bay Airport, it would have been like September of 2015. So 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since, almost 10. This September will be 10 years since I've had a panic attack. But you'll get to a point, or whatever your symptoms are, you know what I mean? If it's derealization, OCD, you'll gradually get to a point where you're like, oh, that's, maybe it's tapered down a little bit, and you start to notice, or sometimes it does go away. It has the possibility to go away for good. And, that's, but you have to initially be willing to learn new ideas, right? So being open to learn. And then you would just rate yourself. When I coach people and if they struggle with things, I say, hey, rate yourself on the training balance scale. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying the training balance scale. The Teachability Index. Rate yourself on the Teachability Index. And then, so the second part of it is your willingness to accept change. Right? So willingness to accept change, a good example there would be, let's just say a simple example is fitness or weight loss, whatever it is that the person's trying to accomplish. If you're not at the weight you want to be at, or your doctor tells you should be at, again, the willingness to learn side applies to you. So you learn new diets, learn new exercise routines. But the willingness to accept change piece, the example there would be, okay, I've learned I've learned a new diet. I've learned that I need to restrict. I don't like the word restrict. I've learned that I need to eat, or the proper amount of carbohydrates to eat is, I don't know what it really is, but let's say it's like 50 grams or 100 grams a day. I don't know. Okay, am I willing to do that? I learned that I need to walk for 45 minutes a day. I learned that from being willing to learn it, and then willing to accept change. Am I willing to walk for 30 minutes a day? And am I willing to limit my carbohydrate intake? Again, simple example, insert anything you're trying to do with both of those. And then you would just rate yourself and go, okay, I've learned a lot, but I haven't applied it. So my willingness to accept change wasn't that high, right? So you would just, and the numbers are arbitrary. So you could say I'm a 10 and a 10. If you're a 10 and a 10, you better have the results. Because if you don't, I'm going to throw up the bullshit meter on you. And myself too. There's things that I want to do. I apply that in my life. The willingness to learn, willingness to accept change. So those are really the two components that we talk about in the Peaceful Mind Blueprint. That's two of the initial components that we talk about to judge, to help, like what you need to have to be successful in eliminating your anxiety. You have to be willing to do it. Like you have to have the desire, but also the willingness and the openness to learn new things, to accept new ideas. I once heard a concept, and it said, until you find out I'm wrong or lying, I need you to trust me. There's some truth to that. That's an odd statement. And again, depending on the source of that message and the topic, you need to use your judgment there, obviously. But, in that case with the Peaceful Mind Blueprint, when I do ask people, hey, until you find out I'm wrong or lying, I'm going to ask you to trust me. But I say that with also backed up by, hey, I suffered with anxiety for 25-ish years. It's documented. I can show you for the most part. Some of the medical stuff is from 20, 30 years ago now at this point. I don't really have those records, but I have you can listen to my stories most of the time, and oh, this guy had anxiety, right? Because you've experienced it. And when somebody, you can't describe to someone what a banana tastes like, but if they tell you, you know what I mean? You can go, oh, this guy ate a banana, because he can describe the flavor and the texture. Anxiety is the same thing. So, you need to be mindful of who you get information from. And I've made several other videos about who do you listen to. So I'm saying all that to say this. I'm still offering the Peaceful Mind Blueprint at no charge. And if you've seen some of these videos, you know that I'm just getting started out. I'm building a program called the Peaceful Mind Blueprint. It's the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if you're getting value from this. And I'm documenting it as I'm building it. And I'm ultimately going to charge for the program. Probably $500 to join it. I'm doing it now for free. I generally want to help people. I believe that, this is part of my purpose on earth, is to help people recover from anxiety, because I don't know if it's literally a bear, but it's like having a brain bear, you know what I mean? Like it's just this scary thing, and all kinds of physical symptoms, right, that you may or may not have experienced: health anxiety, derealization, OCD, agoraphobic, like, whatever your version, however it shows up in your life, what that is. I'm willing to walk you through the Peaceful Mind Blueprint live on Zoom calls. It also includes coaching calls, Q&A, if you want to call it that, where I walk you through the exact process I implemented. I didn't create, I learned it years ago, and now I'm building a program for it to help people. I'm ultimately going to charge. The truth is, the dirty little secret, I want to help a bunch. I would help as many people as I could for free, honestly, but at some point, it's just math, right? It's got to make sense that I need to charge. I'm not looking to, buy a jet with it, but I need to pay for the resources that I use to do this and earn a little bit of a profit. So just being transparent. But I know initially, I help 10, 15, 20, hopefully 100 people for free. I just ask that you look at the your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change, the training balance or the teachability index, and that I do need you to agree that you'll commit to the program and actually do it. And when you get results, that I would ask that you would be open to give me a testimonial. Just being honest, and I want to be transparent. There's no gotchas. There's no credit card needed. I just know that by helping people, I'll be able to help more people because, again, when I do start advertising this, I'll use testimonials properly in FTC compliance. You don't need to share your last name. I don't need to. If you want to do a video, that would be super awesome. Those are just great testimonials, right? You've probably, most people when they go to purchase things, they look at reviews or testimonials. All a testimonial is a review. So I know that that'll help me help more people. So if you're interested and you do have, if you've looked in the mirror and you're like, I've tried it all and I'm ready to make a change in my life, go in the description below. There'll be a link to go to it's a landing page. It's a page on the website if you're not familiar with what that is. Put in your first name and last name. I don't even think it asks for your last name. And your email. And some of them might ask for your phone number. You don't need to put your phone number in there if you don't want to. I'm not going to spam you. You might see a page just to invite you to join a call at a certain time. I might do that soon. But just click in the description below. You'll see a link to go sign up. And thank you for watching this video. And I really appreciate your willingness to learn, and you probably have some sort of willingness to change if you're here. And there is hope. There's absolutely hope out there. You're not stuck. You're not mentally ill. People think I'm a doctor. If you just have anxiety, you're not mentally. You know what I mean? Like, don't let that scare you. But like, anxiety is not a mental illness. You can heal. I don't know if I can use that word heal, but you can. I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to share my story of how I had anxiety for 25 years, was a nightmare, panic attacks. I don't have that anymore. Looking you in the eyes, I do not have to deal with that anymore. And it's not from prescription drugs. It's not from acupuncture. It's not from meditation. I do meditate and I have done acupuncture. I'm not saying those things are bad to do, but it's typically not the answer to anxiety. So if you're open and you're willing to hear my story to see if it'll help you have a better life, get your life back, turn the lights on, and you'll probably discover your purpose or passion or something that really inspires you. Most people do when they get anxiety out of their life. So click the link below. I'll see you on the inside. Have an amazing day. I know you will. Thank you.